We are live.
So, hey Zachary, what's up on your mind?
Um, I I worked a job today that's highly social, where I find myself in my own thoughts being like, these are really good people. It's a service job. It's like a be charming for tips sort of thing, and teach people to throw axes, and then keep score and kind of hype them up to encourage them to learn to throw axes, but also be enjoying the thing. And I can't help my mind but being like, oh, these are really nice people now. These are really good, nice people. They're being very nice and kind to each other and respectful to me and nice. And oh, this one tipped me a good amount of money. And then it's like, oh shit. Now I'm in the presence of somebody who's mean and being bad, being not respectful, not nice to themselves. Oh, this one's not being nice to their girlfriend. This one's not being nice. This one doesn't have any regard for strangers. And so what I'm thinking about right now is what okay, so maybe I could frame it as what is like the cultural nuances, the global context as it varies from place to place. Particularly, I'm thinking hemispheres of the planet, of this idea of, is there such a thing as a good person? Is there such a thing as a bad person? What do you think? Are there good people and bad people?
That's a good question. I feel like it like we have to analyze what morality and ethics are in order to understand what makes a person good or what makes a person bad. What do you think are the parameters of a good person?
Hmm. Um, you recognize that you can make things a little better or make things a little worse in every little situation that you're in, and that what feels most knee jerk or just comes most natural to you may not be, very vague language here, but the best for, I would just say maybe regard for others, conscientiousness. These are things that, but you take that to, you get too conscientious, and then you're not looking out for yourself. And there's some people that I've seen who take things to such an extreme of never looking out for themselves and always caring about others more than themselves. And that's not nice, because you're a person. You should be nice to you. But when I'm in a public situation like that, it's always somebody who's like, I'm willing to stomp all over everyone else's experience, just out of lashing out. I would say inflicting harm is inflicting harm is bad, and kind of looking out for people and choosing to. We don't have to make. There's so many ways to make things a little better or a little worse, and obviously that's very vague, better, worse. But I guess it has to do with what is it? Your question was, what is a good person? I'd say a good person is at the driver's seat of their own, yeah. Neil Strauss just posted a thing, and Neil Strauss, always, man, he's on
Who's
point.
that guy? Who's that guy?
He's on point as fuck. He's always posting the great stuff. You've seen Neil Strauss stuff before. And now I'm going to my phone and I'm going here. And okay, Neil Strauss, most recent thing he posted on the Twitter, which I don't do, but he goes to, I've never met a perpetrator who didn't think they were a victim. And then it says, and the caption is, see also Karpman triangle. But yeah, that's I would say that. Okay, question was, what is a good person? I guess I'm qualifying by what is a bad person. But also that there is no person who thinks they're a bad person, but there are lucid good people, which is like, I'm fucking trying to be good in a world that isn't necessarily encouraging or supporting of that all the time.
I think there's a level of selflessness when it comes to being a good person because you need to do good to others, but at the same time, you don't need to tell the person that you're doing good to that person. Like it has to be selfless at all times. And what else can this good parameter be? Okay, when we talk about the distinction between good and bad people, sometimes we can analyze what it means to be a bad person in order to understand what it means to be a good person. And the way you can do that is by, of course, sitting down and looking at the parameters of what it means to be good and what it means to be bad. But and the reason why I say, analyzing the bad person could also give us a clue about the good person is because I was reading Jean Paul Sartre. Jean Paul Sartre. I always mess up his name, French. He, in Being and Nothingness, tried to define what it means to be, what it means to exist, by defining what it means not to exist. What it means not to exist, therefore, tells you what it means to exist. So maybe if we analyze the parameters of what it means to be a bad person, which could be you're violent, you're inconsiderate, you really do not care about most of the things that happen in society. Not that you're an anarchist per se, but like you're just not too conscious about things that are happening around you, and therefore you make certain judgments or certain statements that are not kind to the other person. And kind here means that you're not appreciating that person's judgment by listening to them. Yeah, that is something that I would say. But like, this good person versus bad person is again based on morality I was talking about, right? Morality is very personal, it's very subjective, while ethics is very collective. So what are your morals is what would answer what it means to be a good person and what it means to be a bad person.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's Jean, by the way. I think the actual like French pronunciation would be like Jean Paul, and I'm sure it's not Sartre, but yeah, all the philosophers, yeah, like we say, like some people like Friedrich Nietzsche. I think what are most people don't give a fucking single ounce of effort to pronouncing things in that like yeah, anyway, okay, so that's the being inconsiderate and stuff, like, so there's a stereotype of the American douchebag, right? And these exist.
Is it the right wing people, the conservatives
Oh my god, they're
with
oh my
Frederick?
no, that's so there. The idea that the assholes are concentrated on one or the other end of the political spectrum is the cat is out of the bag. We have fucking complete fucking douchebags on either extremity for sure. It's just there's more on the right wing, I would say, in America. There's more of a admitted. I don't like more right wing people that, and we got some dear friends that it's like on the extremity, it's like, look, I don't give a fuck about anybody who is not my business. And here's the people who are my business. It's my family, it's my this, it's my that. And other than that, you're fucking on your own. And the way the like more moderate, or as I would say, like sane right-leaning people in America have found themselves on that side of the spectrum because they're like, look, the government doesn't work well. You want the government to take care of you and shit? You want the government to be in charge of your safety? You want the government to have all of the fucking violence power? Well, we're fucked then. So, as where the left-wing people are tend to be like, we should use the power of the government to make things better for the more I would say the more sane, moderate, not completely just like identifying with an extremity that is defined by its extreme opposite. That's what I think is the psychosis of America right now, is that there's like the fucking extreme left and the extreme right, and they keep getting crazier, and they make each other crazier. And the more each side takes the gloves off and is willing to be crazy, then it's fucking, I could find a better word for crazy, but it's getting to the point where it's fucking like actual, it's like it gets bad. But it's not everybody. I don't think it's most people. I don't even think it's 51%. But yeah, the left-wing side of things would be like, we need to use the power of power, which, by the way, we're anti-power. But since there's power, let's use it to fix as much inequality and depravity and impoverishment and desperation as we can, as where the other side is like, let's get our castle walls as firm as possible. Let's get the borders, the literal borders, and like just like, you know, it's you know, and I've seen it analyzed so well. I think Andrew Yang analyzes the political spectrum in America really, really well. He says better stuff than I could about it. You know, like there's like the right wing is super into sanctity of America, the sanctity of our you know, values and stuff like that. But they're also like willing to be all about American exceptionalism, as we're like fucking super like, you know, in bed with the Saudis, who are so the fuck not, like, you know, things like that. Each side is so hypocritical and so wrong in its extremity. And I just wish people were more about like finding out policy things. Damn it, we're talking about politics now. I don't want to talk about American politics. But okay, left, right, in terms of, because I think that left, right thing is global for sure, in terms of there's people who are more about let's secure what we can, and they tend to think and feel more intensely about achieving safety and security, as where then there's other people who are more about wanting to be open. And have I lost you? And maybe that's just the price one pays for so quickly into a podcast going into fucking politics, and my making about American that, because I'm just kind of saturated in a lot of that when I go out in the world and talk to people. There's people who actually say everything is political, there's no avoiding it. It's like, oh God. All right. Anyway, we're back. Yeah. So a good person, good people. The whole thing of talking about the political spectrum. I do not find good and bad people to be concentrated on either side of that, at least like not contemporarily. But because I don't have the numbers, but everybody thinks that they're doing what is at least necessary. And most people think that they're doing what is actually good and right. I would say that confidently. Most people.
I think we're in mass psychosis, you know. In the Hindu tradition, we have this particular term called Kal Yug. And a lot of people are saying that we are in Kal Yug. And Kal Yug is supposed to be like when the entire civilization has gone completely insane. And no one is trying to do anything to bridge gaps between peace and chaos. Everyone is just fucking lost. Everyone is going crazy, insane. And that's why it's a mass psychosis, right? The left wing, right wing bullshit is crazy because that's what people are concentrating more on. Like nowadays within politics, like every time it's like, oh yeah, the left wing, for you guys, I guess Fox News or something like that, and then the right wing, CNN. You know, even our media is fucking polarized. It's crazy. And same is happening in India, dude. We have media channels kind of like they are attached almost unconsciously because they don't want to like make it public as to what party they're supporting, but they are attached to the polar opposites, the polar parties, political parties. So it's insane. It's insanity. We're in Kali Yuga and we're probably all going to hell.
I don't think it's okay. So I want to be very careful about how I use the words all and most, because it that did not just infuriate me there. But do you really, you know, because like if I use the word most,
all, because even the most influences all, you know. The consensus depends upon, you know, major fragment of the ratio. So if we are talking about all versus most, they both influence each other, but mostly the most influences the all.
Yeah, but then there's also that we have, okay, so yeah, have you heard when people talk about the difference between a chimpanzee or a modern human who reads books and has some general understanding of like the world, the difference in intelligence and depth between the chimpanzee and the modern human is not necessarily wider than that between the average modern human and like the philosopher king, who is thinking way more about things. So there's millions and millions and perhaps billion, like I don't know the actual numbers back to most and all. When I use the word most now, because it just infuriates me when not yourself in that for a certain example, but I just hear the word most said a lot. And I heard the word all said a lot. Well, all means 100%. And most means substantially over 51%, I think is what that. So there might be more than a few billion people on this planet who ain't thinking about stuff deeply or really considering things, or like, really, agonizing over ethical questions and things like that. And no one will ever know if I am actually, thinking deeply about things and whatnot. I can make mouth sounds and seem like I am, but like, who knows how many people there are who are just, I don't want to say just even, because we were talking about this the other day, that like I sometimes envy people who aren't meta at all, who are just a character in their story, and that they don't say things like, well, it's all dream, right? It's all a simulation or whatever. They're just living their lives. And when somebody else says shit like that, they're like, what are you fucking talking about? Like I got to be at work soon. I want to fucking have a cheeseburger and have sex, like sometimes I envy those people who live like that, because they don't have to deal with this shit where it's like, I'm thinking about thinking, I'm talking about thinking, I'm thinking about talking about existing, maybe one day existing. But anyway, back to, there might be a lot of people right now who and always, there certainly used to be most people followed orders and were lockstep with whatever was that. But I don't think it's easy to gauge right now, because I think that a lot of very smart and what I would say like nice or kind, better word, good people, know that they aren't in the arena of affecting the big things. So they're just trying to live good lives. And they're more concerned about being a better friend or a family member than they are about moving the needle sociopolitically. They have no idea what to do about geopolitical things. And so it's like they're just content with either not knowing or certainly not being affected emotionally by what happened on the other side of the planet, because they have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, when I think about it's not even most people, it's a fragment of people that really do not care about the world. But what a waste, right? Like, life is all about questioning things. Life is all about phenomenology and stuff like that. So, even if you're trying to be, even if you're avoiding, let's say, conflicts and politics, you're essentially heading towards what could be called hedonism, if you can reach that place, because essentially you're just living for pleasure, living for the good parts but not the bad parts, not the conflicts. And that's where things get tricky, as a human being, because you're not conscious fully of everything around you. You are selectively being aware of certain things but not fully exercising your consciousness as a whole. And this is what's happening with all of these people who do not care. Like, I personally see people in my generation really not caring at all. When the whole COVID situation happened, I remember I went insane researching about what the hell is COVID, what is this. And this is like March 2020. And I'm like, reading all of these research from Lancet, from New England Journal of Medicine, and etc. Nature.com, whatever. I'm reading all of these journals, and I'm like, no, this thing is serious. And I'm also talking about this with my friends, but my friends don't really care. They're like, yeah, it's gonna get over, whatever. They were partying, everyone was partying during COVID, like at least the lockdown months. They really did not care. And not caring is both a good thing and a bad thing, but mostly a bad thing.
Yeah, like I don't give a fuck was really popular in the late 90s. To say I don't give a fuck. I mean, it's still in, but
And the 60s. Turn on, tune in, drop out.
yeah, I don't give a fuck about, but and now there's, but giving too many fucks is a problem as well. But I just wanted to say before the thought leaves my mind, I wonder how different because you mentioned Kali Yuga. Is it Yug or Yug? I thought it was Yug, like a G sound.
Kal Yug.
Kali Yuga.
Yeah.
Okay, so on the Western Judeo-Christian side of things, there's people who are like, it's definitely Revelations. It's definitely end times, right?
Like the Messiah is coming?
Some of them might say that, but others just like, good old JP, I just heard recently be like, and all 4 horsemen are on the move.
I have a problem with Jordan Peterson. I think
I do too now.
I think it did something. What did he do? He did something in the past few weeks or days. He did something controversial.
He's been releasing videos that are fucking his worst aspects. He's just like, he said to me, he's like leaning into the most grandiose and so hypocritical of the good shit that he's said. So hypocritical. It's like he really sounds like a person now who's like, look, I've got the fucking answer, bro. Like fucking so divorced from, look, I'm apolitical. I'm a psychologist. I'm here. I think that wouldn't more better people be good? Wouldn't it be better if there were more people who got their act together? Now he's just like, look, I've been talking to some geopolitics people, and here's what I think about Russia, Ukraine, and here's what I think about he, her, them, she, whatever. He's just like completely fucking gone. He's completely gone up. There's lots more indefensible moments online that have been produced in the last but ultimately on the positive side, I'm tuning out from that shit. I'm tuning out from all the anti-woke people. I'm tuning out from the woke people. I'm tuning out from people who are on a program. I don't want to listen to a program. I already know what the anti-woke people are going to say because I already know what the woke people are going to say. I know what the fucking right-wing people are going to say. I could write a fucking essay I'm not bragging, but I could write an essay from any one of these perspectives. I know them so intimately now. And now I just want to hear somebody look at the fucking actual situation and be like, I don't know what to say that's better, but I think that okay, so when I think, by the way, it's funny to me to think when I hear people talk about its revelations and stuff like that, I'm way less disquieted than when I hear about Kali Yuga, because that concept to me wasn't given to me because I grew up with Judeo-Christian stuff all around me. And at age 13, I was like, whatever with that, but when I thinking, have you ever, okay, so this isn't veering off. This is on the subject of that the cultural relativism of, have you ever heard of this movie? It's a documentary by Vikram Gandhi, I believe. He used to be one of the Vice people. I think it's him, and I think I met him at Burning Man. Actually, I'm pretty certain of this memory. Yeah, I met him at Burning Man.
But like the problem with Jordan Peterson, the tragedy of having a person like Jordan Peterson is that there are so many philosophers of today, of the present times, who are not getting any recognition at all because of figures like Jordan Peterson just talking about pop psychology and reducing concepts of continental philosophers into just fragments that don't necessarily make any sense, or even if they make any sense, they're fragments in the first place. So it's not a whole that he's talking about. He's misinterpreting a lot of continental philosophers. He calls himself a psychologist, possibly a philosopher, but he's doing a bad job at both of them. And right now, what I think is going on with him is that I feel like he has had some sort of a revelation after his benzo addiction and getting out of the Russian hospital or whatever. I think he has kind of lost his mind in a mediocre way. I don't know. But yeah, there's tragedy that a lot of philosophers of now are not getting any recognition, and because of these public figure touring philosophers and psychologists who are um, monetizing on knowledge. Even the pre-Socratics, people, like there was Greek philosophers. That is where Plato, Socrates, Aristotle, and then before that there were pre-Socratics. So pre-Socratic people gave knowledge for money, gave knowledge to the masses, or the knowledge of art of persuasion for money. And so the Greek philosophers thought that this is not the way you impart knowledge, because true knowledge should be imparted without any monetary gains of some sort. Which reminds me, the same thing is going on with shamanism today, right? You go to, like, there's so many people who are going to like retreats and shit, and they would meet like these shamans, and the shamans are giving them this experience, but they're also taking money from them. Where, as in, a true shaman, a true trip sitter, true guide would never make monetary gains out of your phenomenological psychedelic experience. At least that's what I think. And I think we are becoming so much like pre-Socratics. Art of persuasion is good. The knowledge is good, of course, but again, it comes at a cost, and the cost is very, I don't know, bad, I would say.
Okay, yeah. I mean, okay. I got a few things there, and I do have some pushback. Okay, so I start with before I forget it, I want to say about the shamanism thing is that now that's getting called out more than it's even like sliding, I would say. And just because in America now there's a lot of, I live in now a decriminalized city where you can have you can make a Facebook event if we're having a psilocybin ceremony and probably be just fine, like not having any legal trouble and anything like that. People have been having ayahuasca ceremonies for a long fucking time, and fucking, within 30 miles of Detroit. And I personally have had the opportunity, access to be able to, I'm yet to do a thing where I like super monetize anything like that, but getting friends together and things like that, it's at a point where it's not legal in time. It's decriminalized. It's not a worry. And there's a whole the Washington County, which is where Ann Arbor, Michigan is. You can do all the things. And I could fucking start a business tomorrow doing things like that. And it would probably do it. I'm pretty confident I can do it pretty fucking well with mushrooms, at least. But anyway, this gatekeeper shit, the gatekeeper of plants. Yeah, I've always known that's ridiculous. That's objectionable to be like, here, I know more about the way this plant speaks to your consciousness than you, and I'm going to be the middleman between you and this knowledge. The thing that I disagreed with on about, it's obvious to me why, like, Jordan Peterson, for example, got super popular there was because, well, back to like defining it by its opposite. People don't like, millions of people don't flock towards like actual, like, hardcore, difficult philosophizing or philosophy or philosophers, because it's actually difficult. And actually difficult shit will always be, maybe I shouldn't say always, but actually difficult enterprises, actually difficult to reach experiences, actually difficult thoughts to wrestle with don't tend to be popular, because I'm going to use the word most people, over 51%, don't want to work hard, or don't want to be uncertain, definitely don't want to admit that they don't understand something yet, or that something is like, beyond their current, I'm willing to admit that. I feel like I'm capable of understanding anything that's written in plain English, or not, or maybe not always plain English, but like I can get it. But it's, dude, there's fucking. I just started reading Heidegger, analyzing. Was it analyzing Nietzsche? But it was like, man, that like hardcore fucking philosophy
It's
time.
Nietzsche. It's Nietzsche.
I've heard people say Nietzsche. I've heard people say Nietzsche. I've heard people say, okay, I say Nietzsche. Nietzsche.
Just like so Creton, right? Creton.
Okay.
Creton, right?
Do I know? Like, have I read
No, but do you know what kratom is?
kratom? Okay, I thought you were
Yeah.
saying like kratom, like
No,
kratom.
but that's the
God
thing.
of
It's
War.
it's never it's never. So the Indonesian people never say it kratom. It's actually kratom.
Oh, I hear kratom around here. People say kratom. Okay, but I always know. I know what somebody's talking about when they say Nietzsche or Nietzsche. Friedrich Nietzsche. Carl Jung. Schopenhauer.
Schopenhauer is correct. Schopenhauer is correct. Or Schopenhauer. Yeah, Schopenhauer is correct. Yeah.
I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. I know some people who know more Spanish than me, but are like uh hablo español, like, and I've got more pronunciation chops in that one, which I will not demonstrate at this moment, but it's like, that's very fun. Like, you can make yourself understood and be like Friedrich Nietzsche, and I get what you're saying. I know what somebody's saying any fucking way. Yeah, the pop philosophy stuff and stuff like that, it catches on because it's not as difficult. And that guy particularly, I also do perceive that and perhaps I have been wrong for a long time, but I used to actually would totally defend him for not being a hateful guy. And now
I remember that.
me,
Yeah.
I didn't think he was. Here's the thing. Back to good people and bad people. I don't think that a person shows their true colors when they start to let certain aspects of their personality gain more ground. I think it is tragic. It's tragic to see somebody behaving or expressing from their, their more knee-jerk or unconscious or uncaring parts, as opposed to making an effort to bring the better natured angels of their being to bear. And I have seen him being a fucking dick a lot lately, and really leaning in, as where before it was like, this guy's pretty misunderstood, has moments where he's a grumpy, codgerly old man, but it's definitely not out there stumping for anything that I would say is like truly phobic. And now I can't actually defend him that he's said things. He's
Zizek, the debate between Jordan Peterson and Zizek already showed to the entire world, or to the internet, that Jordan Peterson is this capitalizing kind of a philosopher, pop psychologist. While Zizek is probably, like Noam Chomsky, one of the last remaining famous, really good work, academic work, person who actively thinks, while Jordan Peterson is more like, okay, let's make a video about Heidegger's Dasein, and he's saying that Dasein is like to exist, but he's not explaining it well. But people who are watching him, who are like his super fanboys or fangirls or whatever, I think there's no fangirls, but there's super fanboys.
no, there are. Oh, there's fangirls. I know a few.
They're all deluded, dude. Like, come on. Like, even I discovered a lot of thinkers on a daily basis scrolling through YouTube, right? But I don't become or become a fan of them until unless I've consumed at least 5 hours of their content and read a bit about it. But kind of like going back to your point of people not caring and people becoming more comfortable. People are becoming more comfortable because of the advancements in technology. We are making our lives easier every single day as the technology enhances. We didn't have the phone, now we have the phone. We didn't have flights, now we have flights. Anything can happen in 2 minutes. You can get groceries delivered to your home. Everything is becoming more comfortable, and it is going to have a lot of consequences. We're going to be facing a lot of consequences, but mostly the physical ones, because everyone is just so relaxed. There's only, I mean, I know there are people who are into exercises and gym and all that stuff. Thank God there are people like that. But majority of the people who do like 9 to 5 jobs and like crazy workaholics working for all of these industries, they are sitting in front of their computer screens, and God knows what's going to happen to their physique. So yeah, technology is making life easier. It's a good thing and a bad thing, but mostly a bad thing. Also because of employment, right? Like AI is going to take over all of the employment of a lot of workers or a lot of laborers, and it's already happening. And this is crazy because, again, Aldous Huxley predicted this in 50s. So yeah, I think people are getting too comfortable, and maybe we should come out of our comfort zone because there's no utopia at the end of the day.
Yeah. Well, the most of us are not going to come out of any comfort zone without being jarred, kind of coerced into so. And I'm not saying coerced by any sort of entity or governing body, probably circumstances. And, but I don't know how big the number is of people who are extremely, or I don't know, extremely, very conscientious enough. I just think of enough, So in terms of good person, bad person, do you dispense wrath instead of figuring out what to do with your own pain? Do you just dispense it onto the world enough to be I don't know, more havoc causing than helpful? But then also, I don't think that a good person needs to be helpful anymore. I used to think that. You don't need to be moving the needle to be a good person to me at all. I mean, maybe if you're really aware that you have moves to make, that you could help people, and you just like refuse to lift a finger for anyone, I'd say, okay, that's that's kind of shitty. It's at least lazy. But most people don't think they have any power. And I said the word most there. So over 51%. They don't think that they don't, now, and that's the thing that was positive about good old JP for a while. And I would say like he was very helpful to a lot of people who otherwise would have fallen way further from center, or whatever, the light or whatever, during that period of time where there was a lot of just like, well, I've got to pick a side and get with my people and go insane in a particular direction, as where he was being pretty apolitical for a bit. There was a stint of time where it was like, don't, yeah. And there was a lot of time where the tone was, you really think you're going to, fix the world's problems? Like, I think it'd be better for you to look at what's going on with you and be honest about that. What you're really mad about, what you're really hurt about, isn't actually what's happening on the television screen. It's in your own heart. It's in your own house. That, I think, is good, helpful stuff that many other people have said in all sorts of different ways. But I was ecstatic to see it being popular to, think even that carefully, as opposed to, but now it's like he is now appearing to me often, not all the time lately. And I've said, like, I'm really making an effort to, Tim Dillon is where I get my news and geopolitics now, because that is truly a sane and centered, special voice. That is a special man doing a special thing. But
I'm a super fan. I really am a super fan of his. Tim Dillon has been so accurate about so many things, just being a comedian. And also just like watching his fucking show, dude. Like, I'm always laughing my ass off. The way he's, taking real world issues and making it hilarious, but at the same time, relevantly hilarious in the
Yeah.
sense that people can relate to what he's trying to say at a very cognitive level, but also laugh their asses off. So I think he's one of the most, one of the top comedians of our time for sure. I think even Joe Rogan says that all the time on his podcast, that he's happy that Tim Dillon exists. I mean, I'm happy that Tim Dillon exists. But going back to Jordan Peterson again, right? What's even more hilarious about this guy is that he wrote the book, right? 12 Rules of Life. And then he came up with another 12 Rules of Life or something like that. I don't know. What if we need 12 rules of life, why the hell do we need another 12 rules of life? Because you claimed that these 12 rules of life are the only 12 rules of the life that there is. But now, because you're famous, because everyone knows you now, and you have like all of these publishing houses coming to you and be like, yeah, you sold millions of copy, now it's time to write another 12 rules of life, and he does that. So this is what I'm saying, he is a modern pre-Socratic person, I would say.
You're sounding like somebody who didn't think the last 3 Star Wars movies were necessary. Look, we got to have sequels. This world runs on sequels. You do something and it works, do it again. Maybe a little different. Yeah, I no longer really like, defend the guy like as a person or whatever. I think that but I know what was attractive to many at first was the sincerity, and now it is it's like watching someone descend into madness. And I've watched a lot of my friends descend into madness, and come back or not. And then I've went pretty far off. I've went pretty far from my North Star before in the past. I'm very glad I wasn't intensely public about it. I'm very glad that I have never had any kind of considerable fame yet, but I think that I might be mature enough to do something helpful with that, maybe at age 43. But right now, I'm still super hedonically oriented. Unapologetically so. I want to have fun.
Fame comes at a cost, and that cost is freedom. And also your sanity to a certain extent. Because imagine, like, you're a public figure and there's literally people worshiping you. There's definitely a portion of people who are like blind who are blind towards your aura, and they're just, you know obeying everything, whatever you say. It's like a gospel almost. And that is dangerous, because that is obsession. And that is where people start to only see the good aspects and not the bad aspects. Almost a delusion. And fame can completely change people, the way they behave, the way they think, the way they exist. And I think that happened to Jordan Peterson as well. So yeah, whatever. Let's leave that guy, dude. I'm done.
Yeah. No, I don't even like to talk. I don't like to talk about celebrities. I don't even like to. I actually find it really, really great that I haven't read much philosophy books, but when I do, I'm like, well, I've been paying attention to some shit for 34 years now, soon to be 34, and since age like whatever teen, putting a good amount of a good regimen of psychedelics in my face, and it's so often that I'm reading something and I'm like, okay, this wasn't my thought, but these are kind of things that you arrived at in different language and whatnot. And then there's things where there's philosophers that are just taking things way deep cuts. Like we're going so deep, and then hearing different philosophers analyze each other. That's super fucking. Now you're getting layered as fuck. But that did lead me back to the Kumare was the name of the Kumare. The documentary, Vikram Gandhi, who is on Vice, and it's showing. So when you said that people just don't analyze, don't critique, some celebrity thinker person, so whether they're JP or Eric Weinstein, even, you know, like there's people, everybody has like their fanboys, but there's some people who actually look at the camera and like, hey, don't be a follower of me, which he has done. But both of the, but I can, everybody makes an attempt, and JP for a while would do that. Don't listen to me. Come up with your own thoughts. It's when you start. But I think that what happens is people get pressured by how much power they have to, like, if I make a video, then these people are going to listen. So that's important. I'm in a position to really be helpful, is what I think people think, is what I think he thinks right now. I think that he's like, I have to do what I can to, I don't think that anybody's lucidly leaning into, I'm going to fuck shit up. Anyway, I mentioned Kumari. That documentary shows that in America, like the way the super capitalized, watered down emulations of like yoga and stuff. So some of the instances you get of that, I know a person who does, and not knocking their trade at all, but I know a person who hosts goat yoga. I know there's drunken yoga around here. There's places where you do all sorts of fucking. There's the Bikram yoga, which was by that dude who ended up being a super duper like predator. And there's a documentary about that. And there's still people doing what bears his namesake, Bikram yoga, fucking the hot. And anyway, Kumari shows that in America, you can, I mean, he just kind of starts a cult that's him, but at playing this character of Kumare, this guru, and he grows a beard and long hair and like just portrays himself as this guru person, even fakes an accent, like he's faking the Indian accent. He's like he doesn't actually speak with an accent, but he like puts one on for this character. And he gets this group of I believe American, like all of them, like to worship the fucking ground he walks on, and then at some point at the end he like unveils himself as like, hi, I'm Vikram. I'm this was actually a character. I'm sorry that I had to do this, but you guys like fell for this. We have all this footage of you totally falling for it. It's pretty embarrassing. And he's very like, but it really shows. Okay. So what I was saying about, I get more worried about hearing about people being like, holy shit, it's definitely Kali Yuga, than I do about, oh my God, it's Revelations, it's fucking end times, is because with the Judeo-Christian stuff, I can just be like, you've been saying shit forever. And I got so many neighbors who are fucking into this shit. But in terms of selling Eastern or particularly Hindu flavor of apocalyptic or better word, Armageddon paranoia, I'm like, oh shit, man. It does kind of seem like we're in Kali Yuga. Fuck. Because people are going bonkers for sure en masse. But I'm not sure if most are going bonkers.
As I said, right, we're in mass psychosis. It's absolutely insane. Politics, economics, just every sphere of what human civilization operates on, every aspect. People have lost their shit. But talking about yoga, for some reason it reminds me of Michael Pollan's new documentary, How to Change Your Mind. It's brilliant. Did you watch it?
Yeah, it's episodic though. It's not just one documentary film.
Yeah, no, 4 episodes. So it does a brilliant job. I mean, I see Michael Pollan as a person that you could talk about in front of your parents to introduce them to psychedelics. It's that easy. It's that easy, not easy writing, but that kind of writing is just very simple and can get to people very easily. And I particularly really like the LSD one. The LSD, the first episode, it was just brilliant. And also the mescaline one, because the mescaline one I haven't done mescaline, and it always amazes me. Whenever I read about it, like it's a stimulant, but it's also a hallucinogen. And you can only get it in New Mexico and United States, like San Pedro and Peyote. And how there's Wachima, something like that. I think that's San Pedro.
It's not synthesizable because when I had it, it was.
It is. So hear
Yeah,
me out. This guy called Alfred Hefter, or just his last name, Hefter, Arthur Hefter. He synthesized mescaline sulfate back in the day, I think 1850, something like that, and he gave it to Aldous Huxley and Humphrey Osmond. Humphrey Osmond was the guy who coined the term psychedelic. So yeah, mescaline sulfate was, it was synthesized, but people, that is where the outside project of 50s also comes in, because during those 50s, during that time, there weren't people weren't that aware of argot, or psilocybin to a certain extent. So people were mostly trying mescaline because mescaline was blowing up, and so mescaline sulfate was being produced. Now I don't know if it's being produced or not.
I had a capsule. I had capsules of mescaline when I did, and that was and it was great. Like any tryptamine, anytime I do tryptamines in any dose other than micro, it's always has a patch of difficulty. I've never had a not have to get over some hill.
But it's a phenethylamine, right?
Yeah, well, okay. I don't know what that means. I'm not really with like
Well,
my
means a class of drugs which was synthesized by Alexander Shulgin. Under phenethylamines, you have 2CB. You also have
very similar to that. Very similar to that.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm feeling. Okay, so one thing I recall very intensely is I was feeling like I'm the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Like I have like fluffy muscles, and like there's this thing of like ayahuasca being more associated with, and this is the thing that I could talk about this forever. I don't know how to tell the difference between being told, well, you told me it would be a grandmother spirit thing, so now I'm experiencing that, yes, but what if I would have just been given this thing and you wouldn't have told me nothing? With the cactus experience that I had, which I'm not sure if it was synthesized, but it was like broken down, powderized into a capsule, was very like grandfatherly, like masculine, very, it had this like, the spirit of it was like a as opposed to like a but my ayahuasca, man, fucking shit. I've never felt more like lovingly defeated and destroyed. Like, what a fucking humbling thing to have happen to one's psyche. And then the purging and the fucking just being so oh god, just broken down to, I'm like, oh man, I am weak in this moment, but also strong on the other side of having gotten through this. But like being, oh man, it's always puts me through the mill, as they say. But with the flamethlamine experience, did I say that right? It's it was very physical and very, I want to bound through the forest, and very, but mushrooms can be that too. I don't know. I did just like, I fucking like one thing I definitely say that is nice, and some people is the reason why they don't like LSD and ketamine, is that there's no culture around it being any one particular thing, and it also is synthesized. They're not fucking going into the ketamine mines, or fucking just harvesting LSD flowers. However, it does come from there's the idea of the possibility that some of these moments of mass psychosis in history were from psychedelic bread and or water supply because of argot. I'm sure you know more about that than me.
Wait, was this something that Timothy Leary did?
No, it's people who have said that. Okay, so one of the people who have said that I don't know if you've come into contact with the historical events of the Salem witch trials, and like just like witch, but not just witch, but there was witch stuff before that. But particularly the Salem witch trials seems like there was people who were tripping.
Witches of the Salem, Salem, which is something like that. I cannot recall the actual term, but 13th century was when they were burnt. That's something that I do remember. So bizarre. But so phenethylamines are very unique, and I would say that you should definitely at some point dive into it, and you have because of mescaline. But phenethylamines are great class of compounds. Um, what else? Mm,
I am interested in more experiences. Yeah, and I would like to do the. I just I don't knee jerkingly romanticize organic, natural things anymore, because I see that to be another human construct. It like if you're saying that the molecules rendered from synthesizing something as opposed to extracting it from a plant is identical, the identical thing is happening neurochemically, then it's, to me, just like, okay, you're romanticizing the idea of something being natural or organic, but this is an organic. We are organic. We are creatures. These are organic machines that we have. There's nothing is wrong. Nothing can go wrong. And if anything ever were to go wrong, we would know exactly what to do about it. Sort of shit is what I tend to think.
well, I think I think we need more awareness. I mean, we are in the second psychedelic renaissance, and people are seeing the therapeutic aspects of it, the actual therapeutic aspects of it. Uh, but at the same time, talking about mescaline and not ergot, but only mescaline, and maybe also 5-MeO DMT. The patenting thing of them. These San Pedro and Peyote takes 15 years to fully grow. So now imagine like these small, like just baby peyote and San Pedro just being grown, and all of these people just chopping it off because so many people want to try mescaline. I think the best way, as we were talking about synthesizing, the best way to combat extinction of some sort is to synthesize it in the lab, and I think that should be legal, because we lost all of the control over research after Nixon government. We're just gaining the power to do so, the power to chemically synthesize things and test things and research about them. I think making 5-MeO DMT and mescaline sulfate in a lab is much more commercially better than kind of making these beautiful plants extinct, because that could very well happen. We're in 2022. Half of the, like, not half of the species, but like most or a good portion of animal species is gone, extinct. And that's why I'm saying that we're headed towards the Kali Yuga, or we are in the Kali Yuga, and we're headed towards hell. Or as
You
the
don't know it.
Abrahamic religion would say, that we're going to all die because the Messiah is going to come from the sky, and the Messiah is going to be a prophet, and everyone's going to rise from their tombs and stuff like that. Day of judgment. That the day of judgment is coming.
Yeah, I think there's not. Honestly, I don't think there's more reason to assume that things are plunging into a deeper hell than in 2001. Personally, because there's something extremely and extraordinarily positive about now that I observe, is that there is a way more. It is becoming almost common knowledge what used to be extremely esoteric in terms of, there's just more people who know enough about what's up and have some semblance of a sincere drive to improve things. I have a bunch to say about topics and stuff, but I'm falling asleep, and I think it's good. I think it's
I
good.
think it's time to wrap up too. Yeah.
But I don't think that we're going straight to hell. And I don't think that the things that make it seem evidence that things are worse than other. We have so much more access to the constant worst news feed. And if you even just spend, I'm not like putting you up to this or saying that you don't already do this, but really, I think that if you were to attempt, or if I haven't done this, but like a month where it's like, I'm only going to pay attention to, I'm going to unfollow from everything that tells me a doom story and only pay attention to things that are telling me the aggregate most inspiring thing that happened today or yesterday, or, that's happening. I think we would find ourselves desisting from everything is going straight to hell. And we would be like, holy shit, there's never been more hope, actually.
So I don't want to be too pessimistic either. I'm saying, yeah, we're all going to hell, but we're going to hell because a lot of people have become unconscious and unconscious on purpose about what is happening to the human condition and civilization. There's a lot of hedonism, there's a lot of comfort, um, and all of these things are making us lazy towards everything that is happening around us, and therefore, we're not cognizant of what could come in future. We're not ready. We weren't ready for the pandemic. We weren't not ready for the pandemic. That is a prime example of mass psychosis emerging, and mass psychosis only emerged because people were less cognizant of things around them.
Well, we're like insane talking monkey skeleton creature things, and it used to be 100%. I kind of like just had this language coming to me today of that, like, yeah, history is a nightmare because it used to be 100% of people in positions of power. And like, you had to be a pretty goddamn callous psychopath in order to rule over any land, because you needed to be willing to inflict massive, not just maximum damage, but you needed to be a fearful character, because it was everything was communicated through force and violence. As where now it actually seems like there's this resurgence of using hard power, in to communicate one's geopolitical needs and wants with like, I shouldn't make light of this, but whatever the fuck, I have difficulty speaking about things and not making somewhat of light of them, because if I'm making heavy about them, then I'm not speaking. I'm like curled up in the fetal position, like, what the fuck is going on this planet? But like, it seems like we might, like, there's a bunch of different ways in which we could go back. Like, there could possibly actually be a World War III, but then also you see just how many people are just, you're not going to have a fucking draft now. You're not going to actually be able to make a man-powered World War III happen. It's more just about like, is anybody going to actually be crazy enough to launch a nuke? And then I will say that if that were to happen, we'd be in a different fucking, really different ball game and a really different timeline. So I just fucking pray to God that shit doesn't happen. And I think we're just buying time with, as far as peace. Like, we are heading towards the direction of it not making sense for any world power to there can't actually be a hot kinetic war between like the superpowers, but those superpowers are still very much doing, bullying, dominating over, as we say, third world underdeveloped countries and things, and are playing a game of chess where things like the proxy war between the US and Russia right now, using Ukraine as a buffer, is like, that's very well understood. Things like that are still happening, but if we can just buy time to have more decades where we don't fucking nuke the place, I think we're heading towards world peace.
But we already saw, like, at a very micro level, that a person can go crazy and launch missiles, not missiles, but like go on a war, and that is Putin. I think, yeah, I think it only takes one person to go absolutely insane to blow up the entire fucking world. Hitler did so. Genghis Khan did so. I don't know. Like there's so many dictators who did so, and today we see Putin doing so. So yeah, I know that there's a lot of geopolitical peace in place. There's NATO, there's UN, and all sorts of organizations that are trying to prevent World War III. But again, we need to keep in mind that we already had something like a League of Nations after World War I, after the Paris Agreement, that tried to avoid World War II, but World War II ended up happening anyway. So it's all up to the universe. It's all up to uh, the manifestations. I'm out of words.
Yeah. Well, and then, but then back to the reality. If reality is a hallucination, if it's coming out of our head and we're more of an antenna for it, then we are just we stumbled into this room and we're observing some shit. Then yeah, I do actually think some pretty mystical things in terms of. Okay, this is not mystical, and this is something. This is probably the last good thought, if I'm able to articulate it in any way, is that it does seem very true to me that if you just got enough people to to not identify with the old stories and grudges of history, or even of what could be said the present, grudges and conflicts. If you just got enough people to like, I'm not gonna fucking fight. I'm not just to get enough people that just like, no, I'm not gonna fucking march for anything. Like, I'm not. No, I just want to live a good life. Like people see that as apathy, but really, if there's 0 people participating in the momentums and conflicts of the past, then the past becomes totally the past. And what we're having now is I do observe, there's a lot of different things going on, but one of the things is like people just locked in the past and thinking that you can apply the policies and uh, 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 words, the same phrasing and reality tunnels of the past to now is fucking us up because we are in a different ball game and we need to pivot into the present and future. Because if we keep running the programs of the past, then I think that we will go, we will fuck shit up more.
Well, then let's keep hoping that we don't keep on repeating the history, right? And I think that's a good place to end the podcast. Let's
Okay,
just,
yeah, this was a little somber one, but okay. I'm tired.
yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
did not sleep well last night. That's why.
Uh, I hope to sleep well tonight for sure. I got
Inshallah.
quite a day tomorrow. So yeah, I'll say goodnight and I hope have fun, don't die, human species. Let's get through this.
Let's get shifty.
Let's get what?
Dude, how the guy Rick from Rick and Morty says, "Let's get swifty" or something like
Oh
that.
yeah,
Let's get
yeah.
swifty.
Let's get swifty. Yeah. Let us get swifty, humanity, and happy reality to all.
Amen.
Good night.
Good night.